Hey everyone, thank you for joining me today on my Christmas in July DIY video. Today I'll be featuring 6 Christmas DIYs to get the season started. And DIY number 1, this is a simple yet fun Christmas home decor. I'm using some jumbo popsicle sticks from Walmart, as well as a triangle shaped wall decor from Dollar Tree, Waverly antique wax, and some other trimmings such as a ribbon that came from Dollar Tree. So here I've just traced out the shape of the triangle onto the jumbo popsicle sticks, and now I'm cutting them to fit the size of the triangle as you see here. And I'm just laying them out to make sure that everything fits before I adhere them using some hot glue. So when all of the wood pieces were attached, I took some of this Waverly antique wax and a baby wipe and just spread that sparingly over the entire piece. Just giving it full coverage and wiping it back with the wipe. The next step was to take this chip brush and using some of the white chalk paint by Waverly, I did a dry brush over the entire piece, giving it a distressed finish. Next up, I took these letters that came from Hobby Lobby, and they were already in this buffalo check pattern, and I just chose the letters that spelled out joy. I used some hot glue to glue them onto this tree. Next up, I wanted to embellish this tree using some ribbon, and I use a scrap piece of buffalo check ribbon that I will be attaching to the bottom of the tree, as you see here. And I'll be using this leaf vine ribbon that's intertwined with jute. It came from the Dollar Tree. And I just made a quick simple bow and attached it to a piece of jute string. And that little white tree came from a pack of little trees from Target Dollar Spot last year. And I went ahead and tied that with the ribbon and attached it to the tree using some hot glue. And I thought I gave it that little extra touch for that farmhouse look. And here you see me using a ribbon that I've pre-made, using some of that crochet trim that comes from Dollar Tree. And I just added it to the top of this tree in place of a star. And then I added a jute twine ribbon to the center of that crochet bow. And that piece of wood stump that you see is going to be the base of the wood tree, sort of like a wood trunk. And here I'm just sort of getting the correct placement of how I wanted it before I went ahead and attached it. And I just used some hot glue to attach all of the pieces to this wood tree. And here all the pieces have been attached, and this is a finished look. This was super easy and quick to make, but it came out super cute. DIY number 2, I'm using the same wood triangle box that came from Dollar Tree, as well as one of those metal barbecue grates that you use on a grill. And I'm just cutting out the shape of that triangle onto that piece of wire or metal grate. I'll be attaching that later, but in this clip you'll see me decoupaging a piece of scrapbook paper that I've cut into strips to fit the sides of the triangle. I'm just using some Mod Podge to attach these. The next step, I took that metal wire grate and I attached it to the front and back of this triangle using some hot glue. I took my scissors and started trimming off the edges of that metal wire, since you do not want it to stick out too far or it can cut you. I took some of the white chalk paint and decided to brush on a light coat of the white paint over the metal wire, just so it wouldn't be too silver. And I did that to both sides. Next up, I took some of this red pom-pom trim from the Dollar Tree. I felt that this tree needed a little embellishment, so I just cut some strips to fit the sides of the tree. And I proceeded to glue those to the outer edges of this tree. And by using this trim, I think it definitely adds a little bit more cuteness and character to this tree, taking it from a plain, more rustic, and now has more of a feminine look to it. And to add the final touch to this tree, I took this simple bow that I made off camera using some ribbon from Walmart. It's a really cute ribbon. It has houses on it. It's a black and white ribbon, and you'll see it in the finished look. But I used that at the top of the tree in place of a star once again. And I think this gave it just that extra added touch that it needed. And I think this came out super adorable. It came out different than how I envisioned it, but at the end of the day, it all worked out. And I hope you guys like it. And now we're on to DIY number 3. The next project is more of a vintage farmhouse Christmas sign. Using some of those wood planks from Dollar Tree, I used 3 of them. I cut them to size to fit a blank canvas frame, which I removed the canvas from it and just used the wood frame. And I also gave the planks a good coat of the white Waverly chalk paint and distressed it using some moss chalk paint as well as burnt umber. Using some hot glue, I attached it to that wood frame. And in this clip, you see that I have decoupaged some of these leftover triangle pieces from the previous projects. And using some Jenga wood blocks, I did give it more of a 3D effect by layering them on top of those so it would protrude a little bit from the wood sign. And this is how it came out. I apologize that I didn't have more footage. I added some of that pit berries to the side. I also added a wood tag, which I decoupaged a free printable from the Graphics Fairy over to the left corner. And I painted that little wood stocking that came in a pack from the Dollar Tree. And this is the finished look of this third project. I think it turned out super sweet, very vintage, shabby chic farmhouse. On to DIY number 4. Some of the supplies I'll be using is a windmill from Hobby Lobby, a small wreath, some scrapbook paper and music notes, and this old project that I'm going to repaint. So as you see, it used to be green, and I'm just taking some white Waverly chalk paint and giving it a rough coat, not worried about full coverage. I did want some of that green to peek through. So I continued to haphazardly just paint over this green color. As you can see, I've taken the liberty of decoupaging the music note scrapbook paper off camera, and it's already attached to the center part of that wood piece. I also cut out some words from my Cricut vinyl spelling out Farmhouse blessings, and I've gone ahead and rubbed that on to the surface as well. I'm taking my chip brush and brushing on some of this Waverly antiquing wax all over this piece, just giving it a little dry brush distressed look. And I continued to do that until I was content with the appearance of it. Then using this windmill from last year from the clearance section at Hobby Lobby, I went ahead and used some rub-on transfers from Dollar Tree, as well as some stickers. It's a Farmhouse sticker pack that they had, and it has some farm animals on it, some cows, lamb, and some other random floral pieces, which you'll see closer later. And I continued to rub on some of this antiquing wax throughout just to coordinate with the rustic look of that windmill. Since the windmill has more of a rusted look to it, I wanted it to match up with the rest of the sign, and I just continued to dry brush some of that antiquing wax. And using the jute rope that the windmill was hanging from, I just attached this to the wood using some hot glue, and then I went ahead and attached the back with some staples. And I went ahead and added this small green wreath with a black and red buffalo check ribbon to it. And this is the finished product, and I think it came out super cute, and I hope you guys like it too. Now on to DIY number 5. I'm reusing an old wood tray from Dollar Tree that I've used in a previous project, just giving it a good coat of, again, the Waverly white chalk paint. Painting the entire piece, even the back side, since it had some paper that I had used previously and I didn't want that to show. So I went ahead and covered that up as well. Now here you can see that I've already drew some lines to create the look of a plank wood. I just traced out using a ruler and a pencil some lines, and then I traced over the pencil markings with a Sharpie pen, and that gave it the look of plank wood. Then using my Cricut machine, I cut out the saying, "A farmhouse Christmas is blank days away." And I went ahead and rubbed that onto this tray. And that little ornament that you see me outlining was painted in the color black. And to give it a little bit more decorative design, I just used a chalk writer and added some dots around it. And I just go ahead and attach this to the sign using some hot glue. And this little ornament is painted using chalkboard paint, so you'll see me using a piece of chalk, which I will be seasoning this chalkboard first so that when I go to write on it, it won't permanently leave behind any of the writing. Now you'll see me taking this red truck with a little LED light that came from Dollar Tree, and I left it as is. I didn't touch it. All I did was use some scrap felt and adhered it to the bottoms of the truck as a means of attaching it to this wood sign. Hopefully I'm making sense in my directions, but if not, I hope you can see what I'm doing here. So I just proceed to add a lot of hot glue to the piece of felt fabric, and and then glue that directly onto the wood sign. Next, I took this little mini wreath that came from Target Dollar Spot last year, and I added a buffalo check ribbon that I just made a simple bow out of. And just using some hot glue, I just attached that to the wreath, which will then be glued on to the red truck. And before I forget to mention, you will see in the final reveal that I did go ahead and added some white puffy paint to the random parts of this red truck, as well as that tree that's on the truck, just to make it look like snow. And I did also add some to the bottoms of the tires as well. But you'll see that in the final reveal at the end of the video. But I think this came out super adorable. Again, this is a countdown to Christmas sign. And I'm just going to go ahead and season that chalkboard, as you'll see here, using some of this chalk. And now we're on to our final DIY of this video. So in this next project, I lost the clip of me actually painting those little wood boxes that came from Dollar Tree. They have the little drawer inserts in them. They have a heart cut out in the front, but I'll be turning that around and using it towards the back. I basically took some chalk paint in the color white and just painted over the wood. I used a glue stick to attach the scrapbook paper to the fronts of these wood boxes. Next, after everything was glued on, I did cut out on my vinyl machine the and sign, the ampersand, as well as the word bright in the color gold. I'm using some of these white distressed wood trees that came in a pack from Hobby Lobby. And I didn't paint it or anything. I liked the way it looked, but I did add a cute little jute twine bow to the tops of each one of them. And now it's time to assemble this piece. Using some of this wood glue and some hot glue, I do attach these two cubes together. Now I'm taking that pallet wood that I went ahead and stained using the hot glue and the wood glue. I attach it to the tops of the wood cubes. Now it's time to add all the pieces to the top of this box. Using those trees, I went ahead and lined them up and placed them in a staggered fashion. Just leaving some spaces and gaps in between. So I was doing a dry fit to make sure I liked the arrangement before I went ahead and glued everything down. And I just took some hot glue and attached these. I went ahead and took those bottle brush trees from Target and glued them down in the little spaces. And I also had this Mary word cut out from the Dollar Tree that I had painted white, but I felt it was missing something, so I wanted to coordinate the color of that to the color of the trees, which are light green. So you'll see that I end up sponge painting some moss chalk paint over the Mary sign. And I didn't really fully cover all of the white. You'll see at the end how it came out, but I feel like the technique that I used to sort of sponge paint the moss over the Mary word sign gave it the look of snow. But you'll see at the end and you can be the judge of that. So I continue to take the pieces that I needed to attach to this sign. And you'll also notice that there's a bow that's pre-made. It's just a ribbon from Dollar Tree. And it's in that color green with some gold foil deer design. So I felt like the white with the stained wood as well as the little green accents really tied this whole piece together. So hopefully you guys like this project as well. I think overall it came out adorable and really fits in with the whole farmhouse look or style. So when that little sign was completely dry, I went ahead and glued it down to the front of the trees on this wood box. And I just reinforced everything with a little more hot glue and added that little bow to the corner and dovetailed the edges. I also added a wood bead to the center. So here is a final look at all 6 projects. I think they all are super adorable, very easy and quick, using very little supplies, mostly Dollar Tree supplies. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Leave me a comment below which one was your favorite. I would love to hear from you guys. I thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you if you are new for clicking on this channel, and to all my subscribers for all your continued support. Have a great day and hope to see you in the next one.